Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Firefighters Podcast, where we seek to develop, inspire, and motivate the world of the emergency services operator through a series of wide-ranging conversations. Now, before we go any further, just hit that rate, follow, or subscribe button on whatever platform you're listening to. It's a key performance indicator for us and helps us reach even more people. Now, here's what we've got for you today. Hey folks, and welcome back to the podcast. This is our third installment from our Lancashire Fire and Rescue, IFE, CPD, Structural Firefighting and Tactical Ventilation mini-series brought to you by Lancashire Fire and Rescue Service with John McDonough and Karel Lambert. This session specifically is around leadership. Karel takes us through his top 7 rules for leadership. Now, we're going to keep the intro short so you can get the most out of this presentation. But just a quick reminder, all of the presentations are available for free. If you click the link just below this, there is associated presentations with all of these episodes. So make sure to go check that out. And a quick note on the audio. Now, unfortunately, despite the best of intentions with changing speakers and mic swaps, the boys and girls at Lancashire Fire and Rescue Service unfortunately didn't do a mic switch on this one. So what you're going to be hearing is the recording coming from someone sat in the audience. So it's not as clear as we like it. We've tried to polish it up as much as possible. But as always, one of my key principles is don't let great be the enemy of perfect. And this is a great presentation from Karel. Some really, really strong leadership examples. And I wanted to give it to you as authentically as we possibly could. So if you can hang in there with the audio, it does pick up at about 30 minutes through. He's playing a video, someone realizes what's going on, and they go in and do a quick mic switch for the last 15-20 minutes of this episode. But we wanted to keep it true, honest, and transparent. So despite the mic hiccup, we're going to bring this one to you as well so we can keep all the series in there together. Hope to take a lot away from this one. Some fantastic elements of leadership. And again, be sure to go and check out the presentation from the notes below. So without further ado, please welcome Rules for Leadership with Karel Lambert. I'll see you on the other side.
I will start with the story of a guy in a hot air balloon. And there is that guy in the hot air balloon, and he's lost. He doesn't know where he is anymore. And that's a problem because he promised a friend that they would meet in an hour or so. And luckily, below him, he sees a backpack walking. And so he opens this kind of hatch in the hot air balloon to release some of the hot air to go down. And he starts yelling at the guy. And the guy, beginning, doesn't know where the voice comes from, right? He looks up. Okay, can you help me? I'm lost. And that's a problem because I promised a friend that I would meet him in an hour. Would you be able to tell me where I am? And the guy looks and says, yeah, I can tell you. You're like 50.1 north latitude and 48.3 west longitude. And the guy in the balloon looks down. You must be an IT systems engineer. How do you know? Well, I have a problem and I asked for information. And your information is perfectly valid, but it doesn't help me. I'm still lost. And the guy goes, you must be a manager. How do you know? Well, you have no idea where you are. You have no idea where you have to go. You promised somebody. You promised something you don't know how to fulfill. You ask somebody underneath you to help. And suddenly it's my fault. So, management, leadership. So, for me, a leader has to have a vision. Yeah? Which means that you have to develop where you want to go, and you should do it with your people. And then it's about keeping on course. Because I already told in the introduction, society changes, the fire service has to change, and you have to adapt to your course. Whatever you have to work your way around obstacles. That's one part of leadership, and another part is working with people, getting along, motivating people and such. This presentation is about the second. The first part is also very important, but this presentation is about how to work with people.
This episode of the podcast is brought to you by Gore-Tex Professional Fabrics. Now, we all know the working environment of a firefighter is filled with challenges. We face serious risks on the job, such as heat exhaustion, burns, physical and mental stress, and we frequently come into contact with high levels of toxic chemicals. Now, I have been wearing Gore-Tex for nearly 2 decades on the front line, working in hostile environments, tackling challenging incidents from firefighting to water incidents and in urban search and rescue environments. Gore-Tex have a well-earned reputation for protecting professionals in the fire and emergency services through their family of highly innovative, waterproof, breathable moisture barriers that exceeds global performance standards and are trusted worldwide. Gore-Tex, going further together.
There's a certain framework, words matter, and I thought about what's the order of the rules, and I ordered them in order of importance. Leadership as Language is a book by David Marquet. I think he wrote a couple of very influential books when it comes to leadership. I can surely recommend them. So let's have a look. My first rule is very simple. Happy people, in this case, happy firefighters, who work effectively, efficiently, and foremost safely. It took me a couple of years to get there, but all of these words are important. Yeah. In the fire service, our job needs to be done in an effective way. If it's ineffective, people die. If you are stuck in a fire, or one of your relatives is stuck in a fire, you want that rescue to be effective. I don't care about, well, we gave all we could. If that person dies, that's not good enough. So our work must be effective. We must achieve our goal. And I know there have been quite some budget cuts in the UK in the past decades. I'm scared that that will happen in Belgium too, because we have to save a shitload of money due to COVID. We spent a huge amount of money to keep society afloat, and now we need to save that money and make economies, and the fire service will be part of those cuts. So we have to be efficient. We only have a certain amount of money, and you can spend a pound only one time on something, so efficiency also matters. And safety matters. Everybody needs to go home. We lost a guy from that platoon that you saw earlier on in a fire 2 years ago, and that made me realize even more. If it's a guy you have known for like 15 years and have worked alongside each other for years, it hurts when somebody gets killed. So that's why it is the foremost that comes in front. Foremost sits in the back, the foremost takes it back to the front here. And I started explaining this by effectively, efficiently, and foremost safely, because that's how was my rule, what my rule was years ago. And then came the happy firefighters. And then I figured out, I got it all wrong. I should begin with happy firefighters. And I put that part of the sentence in front. And since then I believe that leaders must focus on making people happy. Happy people do good work. People who are frustrated, who are angry, who are unhappy with the organization because they don't feel respected or they just feel like a number, they will not do the same quality of work as somebody who feels respected, engaged. So my focus is making people happy. And of course, in my company, 250 guys, that's hard. It's impossible for me to have a decent interaction with all of them. I just don't have the time. But for example, in the training department, I have 10 people working directly for me. And when I hire somebody new, first day on the job, we have a talk. We tell them, your happiness is what counts for me. That's what comes first. And what does that mean? Somebody's having a rough time. Yeah, I have a female on my staff, and her dog is her child, and her dog was sick. I would like to work from home tomorrow. No worries, go work from home tomorrow. That's not a big deal. Is it allowed? No, it's not. We have strict rules, and sometimes I bend them only a little bit to make people happy. But people respect that, and they appreciate that. When I need something and I ask something, they will also try to do the impossible for me. So that's what it means for me is happy people who work effectively, efficiently, and foremost safely. My first rule. Rule number 2, and it's based on a Dutch saying. Yeah, in Dutch we have a saying: you have to earn trust. When you arrive somewhere new, you have to earn trust. I think that's bullshit. Yeah, there's a Dutch author, and this is his book in English. Yeah, Humankind. I don't like that translation. The literal translation is, coming from Dutch, is most people are decent, are trustworthy. And we tend to make rules for that small percentage which is not. It's a bell curve. And since I'm now studying psychology, one of the things I learned is somewhere between 0 or 1% of people are sociopaths and psychopaths. So we do have sociopaths and psychopaths in the fire service, as in every other occupation. Yeah? But that's like a very small percentage. We should not design an organization because there will be some asshole working for us. Most people are trustworthy. And if you treat them as small children, that's not a way to give people the feeling that they're respected and they should be responsible adults. And I think that's a mistake. So people get trust from the get-go and they can lose it. And for most people, they appreciate it because most people are trustworthy adults. We're the fire service, for God's sake. Most of us come to our organization to help other people. Why should they behave like people we can't trust? So that's something we need to change. I was involved as a quite senior officer in a system to track the senior officers. And it was all designed like, yeah, we should avoid them taking advantage here and there. And I told our chief operations, you're treating us as small children. These are the senior officers of Brussels Fire. Why would we behave the way you expect?
In other news, this episode is brought to you in partnership with MSA Safety. Today we have them to thank for the improved firefighter safety through connectivity in their brand new connected firefighter system. At the center of the connected firefighter platform is the MSA M1 SCBA with telemetry. You can view battery life, air pressure, and estimated time remaining either independently on the M1 itself or from the Luna connected device screen. Also, still with the air status, alarm information, search status, and all of this provided to the incident command for confident decision making during the scene. That integrates straight in with the Luna system, which is a wireless all-in-one device creating an independent search and rescue network, providing edge detection, enhanced personal thermal imaging, while simplifying post-scene reporting and data retention. One of the key parts of the Luna is their FAST system, the Firefighting Assisting Search Technology. This combines directional and distance information with thermal imaging to help find separated teammates and decrease response time. It actually connects you to the other crews in the vicinity for a unified search during the time of mutual aid by instantly notifying the network of Luna devices when there is a downed crew member, allowing for a prompt search and rescue. All of this then plugs into the FireGrid system for cloud-based connectivity, real-time information, and data-driven decisions for the incident commander. It enables you to see the exact location of your firefighters on the scene. And it doesn't require you to be sat on the station. The MSA Hub then provides a wireless gateway straight to the cloud, enabling wireless on-scene data for local and remote incident command for additional eyes on the scene. MSA are truly taking massive strides in the future of improved firefighter safety through connectivity. MSA is dedicated to increasing safety in the fire service through technological advancements. Various feature enhancements, new products, partnerships, and integrations will provide additional capabilities readily accessible by products, software, and services in the brand new MSA connected firefighter platform. Now back to the show.
And I get it, there's always one or two who is cutting corners. Well, you know who that guy is. Talk to him. Take action against that one person. But the others, they're trustworthy and they should be treated in that way. Self-trust must not be earned, it should be given from the start, is my second rule. And by now, I think at least part of you will think, what kind of woke guy is this dude? He's all about, it's unicorn hat he's talking about. So hence my rule. Do not mistake my kindness for weakness. I am all in believing and making people happy and in believing in their talents. But I know, one, there is assholes, and I'm quite allergic to assholes. And there's also people, John knows, and there's also people who are just not made to be a firefighter. Not everybody can be a firefighter. And it's not because I believe in making everybody happy that I will allow somebody to become a firefighter when he's not able to do so. So this is an Aussie general, and it's nice, I'll read, nice quote. So, in the first 15 years of my career, I was working in the training department, but I was not the boss of the training department. And in Brussels, our training consists of 3 parts. All the firefighters have to be ambulance personnel too. So we start with ambulance course, then the basic firefighting course, which all firefighters in Belgium have to do, and then we have an extra course for Brussels, because we are the only ones with the subway. We have a high-rise procedure. Other than John, and we do plenty of high-rise fires. Thanks, there's no sprinklers compulsory in Belgium, because otherwise I would. Yeah? But we have risks that the others don't have, and this is. We're responsible for an airport, and we go on. So we have plenty of add-ons in that last part. And the Belgian Act on Firefighter Education says that if you take the basic firefighting course, you have the exam. If you flunk it, you can resit it, and then you can redo the entire course and take the exam once and twice again. And then it's over. But that legislation doesn't apply to our own intern Brussels firefighter course. And in the past, it has happened that somebody took the course, flunked it a time, flunked the second time, did the course again, didn't pass the third test, didn't pass the fourth test, did the course for the third time, did it the fifth, and then the sixth, and then finally they passed the test and went into the cruise. Now, do you think that a firefighter who went through a year of training, at the end they have to do an exam 6 times to succeed it, do you think any of those become good firefighters? No, they don't. They will remain crappy firefighters. And what it gets us is frustrated instructors, because the instructors tell management, he will not be good, you should sack him. And in the past it didn't happen, because when you sack people, plenty of questions are asked, it gets messy. And what we see is that in the decades to come, those are shitty firefighters. And they're miserable, because everybody knows they're shitty, they know they're shitty, they aren't happy. But that's how it is. So when I got in, back to this one, I said, guys, this is the level you have to cross. And all unicorn landish, we will try to get you there, but the day of the exam, you're on your own. And if you fail the test, well, there is a resit. And the Belgian government says you have to offer the basic firefighter course twice, and so they have 4 chances. And I said, that's true, I can't work my way around it. But for Brussels training, there's only 1 training program and 2 exams, and otherwise you're done. And in the first 15 years, I think we sacked 3 recruits. In the past 5 years, we sacked over 10. So we had 1 recruit class which graduated completely, and in all other classes, the ones who didn't make it, I recommended to terminate, which happens all the time, because those are bad firefighters. We have to make people happy and we have to invest in them, but we also have to be sure that we have a standard and we not go any lower. So that's my third rule. Don't mistake my kindness for weakness. We have a class now and they're struggling with the sports test, so I got to see them, we rarely see them, and I said, how can we help? How can we make things better? And the guy responsible for recruit training is, you're there again. I was just yelling at them, they have to work hard. I said, no, let's help them and coach them. But be clear, at the end, if they don't make it, there's no exception, they will be terminated. It's a dualist message, but both parts are important and equally important.
Ever heard the quote that true leaders are readers? Well, we believe this is true. Listeners often ask where we go to keep our finger on the pulse of what's happening in the sector globally. So there are a few key publications which I encourage you to go check out. Now, if you're looking for insights on disaster management, fire protection and firefighting, for us, we go to Asia Pacific Fire Magazine. And when you're looking for the latest on the Middle East fire protection industry and fire services, it's Gulf Fire Magazine. And our quarterly check-in is with International Firefighter Magazine, reporting to municipal, industrial and fire training professionals. Now, next up, and widely accepted to be the global voice for passive and active fire protection, this is a good one. It's International Fire Protection Magazine. And finally, and perhaps the most relevant to our predominantly UK audience, I'd strongly suggest subscribing to UK Fire Magazine, reporting to the United Kingdom fire protection industry and fire services. We're really excited to announce that after a long-standing relationship and mutual respect, we've now partnered with MDM Publishing, who bring you all of these essential publications. Because in a world of change, the learners shall inherit the earth, while the learned shall find themselves perfectly suited for a world that no longer exists. Eric Hoffer said that, and I believe he was right. So keep growing, keep learning, and keep yourself in the know and at the cutting edge of what's happening globally by dropping into the notes. And as a gift from the podcast, you can actually subscribe to any of these publications for free using the link in our notes. Now back to the show.
I ask my instructors, you have to teach these guys like a soccer trainer is teaching 8-year-olds. You're not yelling at 8-year-olds. Treat them like you're your children. But at the end, then suddenly there is a test and they have to make it. Otherwise, there are consequences. So rule number 4. If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. And I think that applies to plenty of things. As a leader, I try to ask for opinions. I have plenty of people who work for me. And when I have ideas, I throw them around and I try to have feedback. And I try to stimulate my people to come up with their own ideas. If one of the NCOs of one of my lower ranking senior officers comes with an idea, a captain or so, and says, I would like to try this, and we make it our idea, then that person feels rewarded. He feels like, wow, this is great. And he will really invest himself to make that an idea a success. But the side part of it is that when another idea comes around, which isn't his or hers, they will also be invested. In that way, we create a team. I don't believe in a world where it's the higher-ups who makes all the calls, and then the low-ranking staff just has to execute. Actually, I believe it's just the other way around. The best people who know how you have to adopt a certain policy, how you have to solve a certain problem, how you have to work with a certain piece of kit, that's the people doing it. It has been 15 years, thank God, that I rode in an ambulance. I don't like it. So what do I know? How you have to operate in an ambulance? I haven't done it in 15 years. So it's my basic firefighters who will come and tell and determine where we will go. And I will try to make that happen because they know. In Brussels, we don't send out, I suppose it's the same in the UK, the senior officer to a car fire. That's a crew commander who leads that job. So why would I dictate how to do that kind of job? With crew commanders, and they get along among them, and then they determine a working method, and then it's the training department who will push that forward. But why would I try to influence that? I do have some experience from my volunteer department, but why would I mingle? They will bring the stuff, and we will make it work together. Rule number 5. That rule, I need the sound installation. Oh no. It will be the next one, number 6. Rule number 5 is inspired, inspired, inspired. People need to be inspired in order to do a good job. It's a long career, and since our governments want us to work longer, you need to inspire people for the long run. All of us entered the job motivated with a mission, the idea we're going to try to help people. It's our job as a leader to keep it that way and to give people talks. And John talked about that. When he gave that example of that one crew going into a fire, because the work they did was not really great, they had to pull out and the house burned down. And then there was the second crew, the young crew, and they got to do it. When I tell that story in Belgium, I ask who lives in a community that is covered by his or her own and then not hands go up. Well, imagine it's your house on fire. And your little kid is inside. Or your girlfriend, if you don't have kids yet. Or your boyfriend. What crew do you want to show up to your house? And then suddenly we all want the very good crew. But it's always somebody's boyfriend or girlfriend or kid or parent. So we should always be the one crew. And if we confront them with the consequences of what we do, suddenly everybody realizes, yeah, it's not like playing in an orchestra and doing their own notes. If we make serious mistakes, if we are not really good, then somebody might die, whereas that's avoidable if we are somewhat better. So we need stories to help people realize why it is what we do.
If you're a regular listener to the podcast, then chances are you are big into your own personal development and the development of firefighters around you. So I wanted to remind you of our mobile app Drill Book. This is a free training and development resources made by firefighters for firefighters. Heading on to Drill Book, you will find incident debriefs, radio messages, knots and lines, quick reference guides, quizzes every single day. We've got useful links to the ERG, to Web Rescue, to Jessup, Euro Rescue, 10-second triage, National Operational Guidance, and not to mention our daily quizzes where you will find questions on extrication, casualty handling, breathing apparatus, fire development, water rescue, rope rescue, you name it. It is the go-to resource if you've got a spare 5 minutes on the firehouse to develop yourself and those around you. Not only that, if you're looking to get into the fire service, we've got advice on there on interview questions, interview answers. You can build your own questioning in there. And again, remember, this is built by firefighters for firefighters. So you can add your own drills in there. You can pick the drills that you find the most favorite. There is literally hundreds of training ideas, hundreds of drills in there. Remember, this app is absolutely free and it grows every single day down to the contributions of our thousands and thousands of users. It's freely available on Android, Apple, and you will find it in the links for this podcast. Remember, it's called personal development. The clue's in the name. You've got to work twice as hard on yourself as you do on the job. So always be growing, always be developing. Now let's get back to the show.
Simon Sinek is the guy in the picture. He wrote a very influential book, Start With Why. Some people know it? Simon Sinek? I really recommend it. So he says, the what and the how are nice, but people really do things in an organization because they get along with the why. You all have a why. We are here to save people and to help people. That's why we get in the first. And how we do, or what we do to get there, that's why you have a training department. But it has to be clear why we do what we do. And that's a way to make people passionate about the work. So, as a leader, I think we need to have conversations about that. We have to try to make people passionate. I'm talking all the time about the fact that our society is changing. Fire services and in general, people, they don't like change. There's such a very nice quote by Bruno Cini from the United States. There's two things that firefighters hate. The way things are and change. Yeah? So it's something we're struggling with. So I try to talk to my firefighters and explain what are the consequences of not changing. My second lecture is all about how fire behavior changed and what that means for us. If we would still be fighting fires like 60 years ago, well, that wouldn't end well. And we need to motivate our people to get along with those changes. Because, I get it, I start to get it. I'm now 20 years in, I now have to change the changes I made when I was younger. And I think it's okay, but actually it's not anymore because in 20 years' time, society has changed again. Yeah? And that's why we need to inspire our people, and the why is a very important part of it. But now I need sound. Thank you for that. Rule number 6. So for that I took a clip from a television series called New Amsterdam. I don't know if any of you are familiar with it. It's about a very big hospital in New York. And the guy you see in the picture, that character is called Dr. Max Goodwin. He's the chief of the hospital. He's also a doctor. And what I want you to think about is, for a second, what would be the challenges of that guy? What would be the challenges of a big hospital? A huge hospital. All kinds of people working. What are the challenges? I mean, fire services, compared to the past, have become big organizations, compared to when we had municipal fire brigades. So the clip is about the first time he meets with all the doctors in the hospital. So let's see how it goes.
My sister Luna and I were born here in New Amsterdam. And then 8 years later, Luna died here. It's a hospital-acquired infection, entirely preventable. So, working here, being able to save someone else's sister or someone's daughter, it's a dream come true. For me. Anyway, so, how can I help? Sorry, that's not a trick question. I'm really just asking. I work for you so you can work for your patients. How can I help? Just shout it out. Really? No one? Wow. Okay, why don't we try this? I'll go first. Will everyone in the cardiac surgical department please raise your hands? Don't be shy, just get them up there. Great. Great, thank you. You're all fired. Any department who places billing above care no matter how much money you make this hospital, you will be terminated. Oh, I am serious. Bye-bye. We're going to be starting over, all right? Without you. Sorry. Next, will all the department chairs raise your hands, please? I have no idea how you managed to keep this hospital afloat with so little help. So I'm going to hire you 50 new attendings, because untrained residents will no longer be running this hospital, regardless of how much money their university makes off their indentured servitude, or how much time it affords some of you to play golf. So, let me ask again. How can I help? Yeah, person not calling their lawyer.
Lauren Bloom, emergency department. I want to get rid of our waiting room.
Okay, where do you want to put it?
I want to get rid of it. I want to move patients direct to bed, no waiting room.
Done.
Really?
Sure, let's try. Yeah.
Hi, Dr. Iggy Fromm, head of psych. Can we do something about healthy food?
What do you want to do about it?
Have some. Chewy, in the hospital.
Okay. Done.
Aces. Thank you.
Thank you. You know, we all feel like the system is too big to change, but guess what? We are the system. And we need to change. So just tell me what you need, what your patients need, and I don't care if it's not covered, I don't care if the board said no. Let's get into some trouble. Let's be doctors again. Okay, I appreciate it. Go, and I'll see you out in the wards. Thanks.
Today's podcast is powered by our partner Lifelines and their revolutionary approach to functional hydration. Just like in firefighting, water is essential for body function, but studies show more than 80% of firefighters are dehydrated. A 25-year study findings from the National Institute of Health showed poor hydration to be linked to early aging and chronic disease, and even mild dehydration results in significant negative impact outcomes including headaches, exhaustion, rapid pulse, irritability, and poor cognitive function. A study conducted by Yale University showed that participants who were just 1% dehydrated had a 12% increase in errors when performing tasks that required cognitive flexibility. In addition, dehydration is shown to worsen mood and attitude, contribute to confusion and poor decision making, and negatively affect memory and judgment. In other words, you really don't want your incident commander, firefighter, or for that matter any first responder on a critical scene to be even slightly dehydrated. Mild dehydration occurs when a person is just 1.5% dehydrated, a condition that does not even trigger the thirst response in most people. So just imagine how quickly a firefighter or any first responder can and does become dehydrated in their day-to-day duties, which is why I address my hydration first thing every day with Lifelines. Go into the notes for this episode and specifically check out Lifelines Hydro Fuel and Hydro OG by clicking in the notes for the podcast for a clean energy solution designed for those who demand more from their day. Now back to the show.
How can I help? I found this when I saw this for the first time, I had something, wow, how powerful is this? How can I help? Leaders should help. I will work for you so you can work for your patients. In my training department, I will work for you so you can work for our instructors, and together we can train the fire department. How can I help? And as he had, I've learned that people are skeptical. When I try to ask my firefighters, how can I help? Yeah, it's more or less the same result, because people are not used to that approach. There is a part of the fire department that sees management as the enemy. I'm not telling any secrets here, right? But that's not the way we can do good work together. So, how can I help? It's a very important thing, and this video also illustrates other parts of my rules. He starts with a story about how his sister was born and died there, and that the cause was a hospital infection. So that's about inspiring people. Doctors, you can avoid this. You can avoid somebody's daughter or somebody's sister dying. That's inspiration. He asks for ideas with his staff. Yeah, and the idea of no longer have a waiting room in the emergency room, that's kind of ambitious. But he says, let's try it. That doesn't mean that they will succeed, but at least he goes along with the idea.
There are some other lessons in this clip. Yeah, he makes it clear to the staff that the importance is to help people, not having high bills. That's why he fires all the cardiac surgeons who are not very happy, but it sets a clear standard. This is the standard from now on. And it also, in a way, communicates, we're going that way. If you want to go in that way, that's fine, but then you shouldn't be here. You should be somewhere else. And that's also something that we have to communicate. Yeah? Not everybody is fit to be a firefighter. I believe if we realize that somebody is a psychopath, we should do everything to get them out, because those people do damage. Yeah? I suppose those of you who work in a big organization, that you all know somebody who you think of, he shouldn't be here and things would be better. Why do we allow, as a fire service, those people to continue? So, 6th rule, how can I help? 7th and last rule. My 7th rule is celebrate. This is actually, I already told you in my introduction, I'm addicted to chocolate. In Belgium we have a day of the secretary. Yeah, it's 1 day per year that the secretaries are being celebrated. And so last year I bought a box of high quality Belgian chocolate, yeah, and I brought it to my staff at the training department. And one of the secretaries took a picture and put it in our Facebook group. We have a Facebook group of the Brussels training department so we can have direct communication with the firefighters. And she said something in the idea of, it's Secretary Day today. Our boss, he gave us this as a gift, and we are really happy to work with him, not only because of the chocolates. Thank you. And she tagged me. So I got celebrated as well. I really liked that moment. I just gave them because I appreciate their work. I didn't expect something in return. But that good dynamic of a boss working well with his team was now visible throughout the whole organization. I told you about name calling. So every morning we come to attention, and I have such a list of all the guys in that platoon, the day they started in the fire service. And every beginning of the month, because typically we start at the 1st of a certain month, like 3 or 4 months a year, there is some guys who have a 5-year anniversary, 5, 10, 15, and so on. And then I say, thank you guys. And especially for the ones who are in like 35 years, sometimes we have 40 years on the job. That's a thing, that's an achievement. And then in the afternoon, they pay cake or somebody gets cake. Celebrating is important. Celebrate achievements, celebrate events, but most of all, celebrate people. Everybody deserves to be celebrated from once in a while. Even the psychopaths. Maybe they will be a less of a psychopath if they're being recognized and being celebrated. So that's my 7th rule. Celebrate. Now, context is important. It's important when it comes to firefighting, but it's also important, and maybe even more important, when it comes to people. Does anybody recognize this picture? Yeah, it was taken during Apollo 11, so the first landing on the moon, so 1969. At that point in time, there is 2 persons on the surface of the moon. There's one, Michael Collins, orbiting the moon, and at that point in time, there is 3.6 billion people on Earth. Collins, in his lunar capsule, he had to decide on his own. But that's not our world. We are working with plenty of people in the same fire department. And it's not like we have identical ideas about everything. So I can have these, I think, nice rules about how I think business needs to be done. But I have some colleagues who think it's too much unicorn land. You're too high up in the sky about helping people and making people happy. And I hear that. There's people in our department who come from the paratroopers and who are more strict, and it should all be like that. And there is value in that too. So we have to find a way to deal with those people. And that's important. I have another piece of footage. Who knows this guy? That's Teddy Roosevelt, yeah. So he was president of the United States from 1901 till 1909. Yeah. The name Teddy Bear comes from him. Yeah. And after his presidency, a couple of months, year later, he gave a speech. And that speech got to known as the the man in the arena speech because of a very powerful quote he used. And I have another piece of clip from a Netflix show where that quote is given and some context and how you should see leadership. So let's have a look
Reading it,
at
and it
that
says,
clip.
it's not the critic who counts. It's not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles or where the doer of deeds could have done it different. The credit belongs to the person who's actually in the arena, whose face is marred with dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes up short again and again and again, and who in the end, while he may know the triumph of high achievement, at least when he fails, he does so daring greatly.
This is Brené Brown. Do you guys know her? Does anybody know her? Okay. She's a professor in psychology, and she got world famous through a TED talk about vulnerability. Yeah. And she has a book, actually has multiple books, but one is the Daring Greatly. It's linked to that speech quote from Roosevelt. And that resonated with me. And the topics she talks about, that's actually a quote from apart from a Netflix show, a 1 hour show about her ideas. I can really recommend it for leaders, is about you have to be vulnerable. And like 10 years ago, I was afraid to be vulnerable and I was more macho and combative. That didn't work out well for some of the people who challenged me because I'm a smart guy, and often that kind of intellectual fights they lost. But then you get people who are angry and frustrated and feel, like they've been ill-treated. So I learned to be vulnerable, and how can I help is a way of being vulnerable, because I got questions for help that I can't sort out. For example, we need more firefighters. Whose brigade needs more firefighters? Hands? Yeah, I think plenty of brigades need more firefighters. Is that likely to happen in a short time frame? No, it's not. There is no more money. And I get that's frustrating. So you get questions that you can't solve. Because, yeah, the world is not perfect. But still, I think you need to be vulnerable. And another thing she said is you will fail. So I told you about if you want to go far, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. So 2 years ago in my platoon, there was a big harassment problem. And that really ran out of control. And suddenly I was in the meeting room with the top management, me and my XO, and we had to make a decision. Well, we have 7 senior officers in the company. So the other 5 felt left out. It got the whole shit show. We solved the problem, but there was quite some collateral damage. And I got criticized. Yeah, you took the decision by yourself, which is not kind of true, but still, it's failure. Because we solved the problem, but plenty of people are angry. So if you're leading and you do it in a courageous way, you will fail, and that hurts. And we have to accept that as leaders. Otherwise, we're just doing average stuff. So my rules, the 7 of them: happy people who work effectively, efficiently, and foremost safely. Trust must not be earned. It should be given from the get-go. Do not mistake my kindness for weakness. If you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go together. Inspire, inspire, inspire. How can I help and celebrate? Now, to wrap this up, you know what this is? This is a pole turtle. Yeah? A pole turtle, it's not at it where it should be. It didn't get there by itself. It doesn't know how to get off. It doesn't know what to do. There is leaders and managers like that as well. Yeah, they didn't get there by themselves. They don't know what to do. They don't know how to get away from it. Don't be a pole turtle. Thank you.
The Firefighters Podcast was created to recognize, acknowledge, inspire, and hopefully even motivate these incredible individuals who have chosen to be part of the first responder community. Our driving purpose is to create a legacy resource for the current and future generations of firefighters and first responders. We get some incredible feedback from listeners and guests, and as the podcast grows, our desire to create longevity and sustainability means that we are asking for the support of our listeners. If you want to support the podcast, if you want to get discounts to our merchandise, hoodies, clothing, coins, patches, tallies, and also access to all of the incredible documents get shared with us from our podcast guests and sector leaders, then please head over to our Patreon page, and for just £3 a month, you can support the future of the podcast. Please finally hit that follow, subscribe, or rate button on the platform you're listening, and wherever you're around the world, please support your emergency services responders, and thank you for listening.